in the game just to get my fatty. And these lazy ain't got competition. It's me versus me, love Keith.
Notification gang and Key Talk gang, really the same thing. Make sure you hit that like button for me. It's greatly appreciated. So yesterday's episode, we pretty much figured out that Charleston White trash talking Charles said that he was going to actually call the FBI on Boosie because Boosie called and threatened the promoters, which got the promoters super shook, and they told trash talking Charles, listen, we can't have you at this club. Listen, Boosie said he gonna get all of us gone if we let you come to the club, in which Charleston White said he actually recorded the conversation. You already know. With Boosie already fighting like a gun charge out of California where you're not supposed to have any guns at all, specifically if you're Boosie and you're a felon, he can't be involved with no type of violence or none of this at all. So this is definitely something that could definitely damage him. Well, trash talking Charles has doubled back again. And today, he has actually released Boosie's paperwork, but the paperwork he's claiming that Boosie snitched in. But who he snitch on, you're probably wondering, like, who Boosie snitch? What? Well, he's saying that Boosie actually snitched on himself. And I'm going to read the paperwork for y'all right now and let y'all be the judge of it. So it says, at around 17 hours, I attempted to interview Hatch. Of course, Hatch is Boosie every time you hear that, regarding this investigation. Hatch was agitated over his arrest. Before I could begin speaking with him, Hatch stated, the guns were in a bag. Hatch went on to say when an officer asked him if he had any weapons, Hatch said, no. Hatch went on to say, I don't carry weapons. Hatch wanted to know what he was being charged with, and I told him everyone was being charged with a weapon violation. Hatch said, that driver worked for the promoter at the Phantom. He's just a driver. I asked Hatch for his name, and Hatch said, if you gonna charge me, the name is the only thing I'm gonna give you is my name. I told Hatch that was fine, and he confirmed his name and date of birth. Hatch repeatedly told me this is a bad charge. Before I could read Hatch's Miranda rights, he went on to tell me he had 2 guns and that they flew out here from Atlanta. I told Hatch I wanted to read him his rights. I started to admonish Hatch when he interrupted me and asked what he was being charged with. I told Hatch he was being charged with gun possession. Hatch raised his voice and said, the guns were in a bag. Hatch said, you're reading me a false charge. I attempted to admonish Hatch a second time, and he continued and stated, the guns were in a bag. He interrupted me again and repeated, the guns were in a bag. The marijuana was in my hand, Hatch said. The gun was not on a seat. So, as you can clearly see now, if the guns was in the bag, he's safe because the bag belongs to the security. So if the guns are in the bag, he's allowed to have security. But if the guns was outside the bag, it'll look like that he had possession of the guns, in which he cannot have possession of any guns. So that's why he keeps trying to say the guns were in the bag, not in my seat. He even went as far as to say, listen, the only thing I had in my hand was a little Zaza. You know what I'm talking about? The guns was not in my hand. The guns was in the seat. Now, he did end up getting charged, so they must have had some type of evidence to show that the guns were not inside the bag. So I'm going to continue reading. He says, the guns were in his bag. The marijuana was in my hand, Hatch said. The gun was not on the seat. It was clear to me Hatch was not listening to me as I tried to read him the Miranda rights admonishment. Hatch wanted me to view the body-worn camera footage before I charged him with anything. I told Hatch he was already charged. Hatch continued to make an unsolicited voluntary statement. He insisted the guns came out of the bag that was on his Johnson's shoulder. So I guess Johnson must be the security guard, right? He said, I told Hatch let me see where we're at. Cool. I told Hatch I hear what he was saying, but in order for me to speak with him about what we know, I would have to read him his rights. So they have to read the Miranda rights. The Miranda rights are where they say, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You already know, because if they don't read those rights and they take you to court, you can end up getting off because they never read you your rights, right? Anyway, so it continues and it says, Hatch continued to tell me the guns were in Johnson's bag, and there was nothing on him to see at all. Hatch told us they got stopped all the time, and we know that they get stopped. Boosie gets stopped literally like 4 or 5 times a month, it seems like, right? Really like a week. But anyways, it continues and it says, and the guns are in his bag. Hatch told me on the seat at all. Hatch told us he gets stopped all the time. Hatch told me the officer, Vaccarello, went in his Johnson's bag Johnson, not that Johnson, but a person Johnson, and pulled out the guns. So Boosie's telling the 12, hey, listen, man, if them guns is on the seat, y'all the ones that went inside and pulled the guns out. Check their body cam footage. It says Hatch spoke about flying with guns and claiming them at the airport. So now he's telling them that he actually flew with the guns, but he got his security, so that should be fine, but maybe not, right? It says, I told Hatch I could not arrest him if the guns were in the bag. So that's why he keeps saying that. The officer now like, hey, listen, bro, if the guns were truly in the bag, I will not arrest you. I can't arrest you if the guns were in the bag because that means they belong to the security, right? And Hatch agreed. But in this case, the guns was not in a bag. I told Hatch I could explain it to him, but I need to admonish him first. He's still trying to get the Miranda rights read to him, right? It says, Hatch requested I get an officer and ask her about it. We told him we already did that. Hatch continued to raise his voice and repeat it. The guns are always in his bag and he always carries them to protect me. At this point, it was clear Hatch was not going to allow me to manage him his rights. So I told Hatch interview was over. I got up and told Hatch I would review the body cam worn footage. Hatch said, thank you. Hatch continued to speak about the guns and I did not ask him any questions about possession. So now Boosie is continuing to talk about these guns, but the police is saying like, listen, he's just telling me information now. I ain't asking him about possession or none of that at all. And it continues, it says, I told Hatch I would be reviewing the video footage. Hatch calmed down for a while as he continued to tell me the guns were in his bag, and during the traffic stop, he continued with his security that both guns were in a bag. Prior to exiting the interview room, Detective Williams placed a photo on the table. Detective Williams told Hatch this was why we was here at the police headquarters. The photo was posted on Instagram, and in the photo, Hatch was standing at the video shoot wearing the same clothes, and you could clearly see a black Glock-style handgun tucked in the back of his waistband. So there was a viral footage that actually went viral, and it showed Boosie, and Boosie actually did have a Glock tucked in his jeans. You know what I'm talking about? You could clearly see it. So they said that's why they pulled him over, right? So all this other possession stuff that Boosie done start talking about, the gun is in the bag, da-da-da-da-da. He was doing, he was doing a little too much talking at that time. Because the 12 is like, listen, we here for a reason. We're not here for whatever you're talking about right there, but you're going to end up getting yourself in some more trouble than you're already potentially in, right? It says, Detective Williams said, that's a gun, and Hatch said he knew it was a gun. So, yeah, Boosie admitted that that picture that they saw was a gun. There's probably a lot of other stuff he could have said. He probably should have just had his lawyers and let his lawyers speak because he pretty much admitted to what the detectives think they saw, right? Because, the lawyers get in there and, hey, that wasn't a gun. That was a phone case that was shaped like a gun. This, all type of stuff that they could do, right? And it says, and he put it there for the video shoot. So Boosie literally admitted, yeah, that was my gun that y'all saw in that picture. Or that was a gun you saw in the picture that I had in my possession. However, I only put it there for the video shoot. So he's saying he used a real gun for a prop instead of saying he used a prop gun for a prop, right? It says, I told Hatch that was why I wanted to talk to him because I already spoke with his security and that the stories aren't matching up. Hatch began to making more unsolicited voluntary statements about the gun. So the cop in himself, in his statement, is saying Boosie is making unsolicited voluntary statements, which means he's not asking them for these statements he's making. He's just kind of talking and giving it to him, right? Which means he's not using his right to remain silent, which of course is his Fifth Amendment that he has, right? It says, Hatch stated they gave him the gun and he had to put it in his back pocket. He was only there for about 30 minutes and he gave it back to a security guard. I did not ask Hatch any questions about the video shoot or the gun that was in the photo. So listen, they done came in there, put the photo of Boosie with the gun on his back pocket, didn't even ask him no question about it. They just said, this is why we're here. And Boosie immediately got to saying, listen, man, yes, that's a gun. You know what I'm talking about? But I only had that gun for about 30 minutes at the video shoot, using it as a prop, and my security people gave me the gun. So that's why I had it back there. Shouldn't have said that at all. That's definitely something that can definitely hurt them later on and actually make it harder for the lawyers to be able to come and, fight their case and give, do what they can pretty much do in order to try to get him off this, right? Because now he's admitting stuff that he shouldn't be admitting at all. He's be having just a lawyer talking, him doing no talking at all. even though he's not snitching on anybody else, he's just admitting to details about himself that the lawyers may say it was alleged. You know what I'm talking about? They can do a lot of stuff. And it continues and it says, I told Hatch I was going to put him in the back of the police car and check the footage. So now they're saying that they're going to pretty much go and check the footage. And also, on the screen there, you should be able to see a picture, and then I'm going to have it blurred out either on this side or that side because there's a gun on the seat. And with the gun being on the seat, of course, you know, YouTube don't play them type of games at all anymore. But there's a little bit more reading. I'm going to read the rest of y'all, right? It says, for the firearm, in this instance, it was a security guard in Exhibit 2A, which you should see on the photo there, clip of Hatch's statement in custody. Hatch repeatedly attempted to shift the blame to a security guard, while Hatch falsely claimed that both firearms were in the security guard's bag. As you can see in the picture right there where it's blurred out at, that's a firearm that's not in the bag, right? And not on the seat. He did admit that he had to put the firearm on there for the video. As shown below, the firearm was found on a seat between Hatch and his security guard. During the clip, Hatch also admitted that there was marijuana smell in the car and that he was rolling a blunt. And then a little bit last of it says, Hatch possesses a danger to the community. This is problem. This is why I'm shocked he was actually able to even get out on some type of bond or something, because the cops added this in there. It says, Hatch possesses a danger to the community and specifically to witnesses and evidence. So they do believe that either he'll try to destroy evidence or he'll try to get some people gone. And now with Charleston White making a call to the FBI saying that, hey, Boosie threatened the promoters, which also is a threat to me as well because he don't want me in his city. And the promoters are terrified that Boosie's going to do something to them and potentially to me, that now they're canceling the show because of this guy. And Charleston White actually got that on recording. So, and they specifically said Boosie's name in it. So, I mean, that's definitely not a good look for him at all. And then it says, the United States is extremely concerned about witness intimidation. After he was interviewed by detectives, Hatch was returned to a parked police vehicle and a security guard was in an adjoining police vehicle. Hatch was heard yelling, berating his security guard for telling the police that the gun was on the, and it's kind of blanked out there, but I'm guessing seat because that's where the gun was at, right? So, with all that being said, Lil Boosie, you know what I'm talking about, is not in a position right now to be in any other type of violent acts because they have already said literally here that they feel like he's a danger to the community, there's a danger to the witnesses, and a danger to evidence. So they're probably trying their best to lock him up again as quick and as fast as they possibly can. Just as hard as they was going before they arrested him, because he would always post videos saying, dang, they done locked me up again. Dang, well, not locked me up, but dang, they done pulled me over. Man, I get pulled over like 5 times a week. I get pulled over like 3 times a week, 6 times a month. However many times it was more than the average person, right? Which means that they were definitely trying to get him. So now that Charleston White may do a call to the FBI and they already want Boosie because of this case right here, anything that's going to help them potentially able to convict him for this case, they're going to love the information and they're going to try to use it to the best of their ability, right? So the smart thing for Boosie would have been to not have made any type of call to the promoter. Now, maybe the promoter's lying. If the promoter himself doesn't have any type of evidence that Boosie told him not to go, you know, to not let Charleston White or don't have the event, then of course he's got some type of fighting ground. Boosie got some fighting ground for that. But the fact that the promoter is literally have said Boosie's name to Charleston White, that also is some fighting ground for these people that's trying to arrest him. Well, they're already arrested him, they're trying to convict him, right? So with all that being said, how do y'all think this is going to turn out? Do y'all think Charleston White is just going to be playing another game like sometimes he does? Or do y'all feel like trash talking Charles is really trying to get Boosie behind bars? Anyways, let me know something. Comment down below, let me know what you think about this entire ordeal. I'm out.